What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry about the lighting. I had to film inside my garage here because we have a heat index of 115 degrees. We got storms passing by, so I had to pull inside my garage to install this equipment defender rack for our stick equipment. We got the 2-tier rack, so we're going to do our string trimmer and our edger on it. I didn't need the 3-tier because I'm a solo operator and I got one that has the multi-attachment, so if I need more for the for my hedge trimmer or anything else I buy in the future, I can just keep those things in the back of my truck, or I'll get another rack for those as well. We're also going to install the blower rack too as well, but that'll be a separate video. This way we just do the stick equipment rack right now. This way we can hold your attention and we can get through this install. It's a pretty cool setup, guys. So we got most of our stuff laid out here, kind of sporadic. It's a very simple install. The reason why I went with the equipment defender rack over all the other racks out there in the market is that it's not that much more than cheaper alternative things that are on the market, but these square attachments that go to your actual stick pieces of equipment, to your string trimmer and to your edger, whatever you're going to do. They have a 3-tier too as well. Like I said, we only got the 2-tier. This locks your equipment in place and it prevents it from rolling around and getting more damage, and it holds it sturdy when these trailers are bouncing down the road. Plus, this also has an engine mount to hold your mount. Now, I run the cordless stuff, so I really don't need that, but as time goes on, I may go to gasoline, but right now we're using cordless Milwaukee string trimmer and edger right now, so we'll have a little bit extra support on that. But I like these locking bars that hold your equipment nice and square, locked in place, and secure. That's why we went with this route. They're a little bit more money, like I said, than other people out there, but all the other systems I see out there is just really just like a hook type of thing. They do have locking versions of them, of different things out there, but it just doesn't seem like it holds your equipment that great. I know there's a couple other ones out there that kind of hold your equipment, but this really, to me, fits what I like. And a lot of people run this rack for that reason. So let's get into this install. It's pretty easy. You can see I got 2 bars over here. Basically, this goes on here, against your trailer edge, and then you got your 2 upper pieces. Now these over here, they give you a nice book with instructions for people who might need a little additional help, but these 2 pieces right here, you just have to have a 6-inch minimum above your sidewall of your trailer. So you don't have to have it this tall, because once you put this other piece on here, you can see how tall this would be sitting up to have your equipment. And now it's not too tall on this trailer, but keeping it down a lot lower. The lower it is, the less it's going to bounce around. Even though these are very rigid and strong metal, we're going to cut these down to that 6-inch minimum that we need. This way they're nice and low down here, and if I do add anything later, I can add something over the top of it, whatever I want to do. So we want to keep these as low as possible. So we're going to mark these up. We're going to cut them off to have just 6 inches above our top rail here of our trailer. And that's what we're going to roll with. Maybe I'll do like 7, 6.5, whatever, somewhere around there. But it'll be a lot better than being way up here. Even though I'm a taller person, I still want them down a little bit shorter. I just figure it's a better option. So we're going to mark our centers here. I can notice that my trailer is not like perfectly, it has like a canter to it. It's not perfectly straight up and down and square. It kind of goes in a little bit. So I'm going to let the rack sit like that, because you need to be able to put your other mount, basically a U-bolt that you bolt through this to hold the side of this to the trailer. This is not the top of the line Diamond C trailer, so it's definitely not square. These racks are going to be kind of sitting on a slight angle, which should be fine. It's not going to be up and down, but we're definitely going to square it left or right. It's just that it doesn't sit perfectly level against this trailer, which I know. So I'm going to have to tighten the carriage bolts down, but not really suck them down completely until I actually have this mounted. Then I'll tighten this other backside up. But this bottom plate is definitely not sitting flat. And I'll bring you in here real quick. I'll show you down here. You can see how it sits on a slight angle. And this here, you can see my bottom plate there is sitting up like this. So you can see it's a pretty, not a huge slant, but a little bit of a slant. But you got to be able to have this right here fit around this and go through this and my wire mesh that's on the side here. So it's just going to be on a slight angle. Not a big deal. It's not going to affect anything. It just won't be completely square. My other option would be, sorry, I'm moving you around here. My other option would be is if I did keep it square, sitting flat, you can see here what a gap I have. I would have to fill this gap in and use longer hardware. You know, I hate when things are crooked, but unfortunately it's going to have to sit slightly like that, and it is what it is. So if you guys are wondering what this box is here on the front of my trailer, has nothing to do with landscaping. You can see it's a Yakima box. This is what I hold my fishing rods in, because I actually use this trailer as a combination trailer for hauling my kayak. You can see I have a light on that, the light bar over there that does red and white, so it keeps the bugs away. Plus I use it when I'm out early in the morning getting ready to start cutting some lawns too as well. That's made from Kingpin Lighting, but I usually have my kayak sitting on here as well. That's what all these additional straps for. So this is like a combination trailer for me. I could actually keep my weed whacker and stuff in this Yakima box, but they'll be bouncing around. You know, it's not designed for that. That's why we got this rack. So just to answer anybody's question, like, what the hell is that in front of your trailer? Yeah, it's for fishing rods, guys. So back to what we're doing, things that we noticed already during this install. Hey, that gets on an angle. So we'll get our measurement of our 3-foot on center. I think I'm going to keep this probably about right where it is. So obviously I'll never have the string trimmer and edger on here when I'm out fishing, but also I'll make sure it stays far enough away from this box as well. So we're going to mark this out, 3-foot on center. All right, it took us a little back and forth here to make sure I clear my box, make sure I have room in between these two racks when I'm kayak fishing to be able to strap my kayak and these bars not be in the way and position it where I want it. So now we're going to cut these bars down. I may keep it a little higher, I'm not sure yet, but you can cut these down to your desired length, however high you want this thing to sit. But we're going to get those things cut up now. And you do whatever you want to do for yours. You don't even have to cut them. You can leave them that tall if you want to. But we're going to mark these up at 6 inches above the rack. We're going to use a mini bandsaw. You can use a Sawzall. You can use whatever you want to try to cut these things, you know, by hand. You can use Sawzall, you know, bandsaw is going to keep you as square as possible, but we'll just kind of mark the sides with a square and take it from there. You know, I actually want to see by just marking these top of the trailer with these with a pencil, I can see the same distance from the bottom. You know, every trailer is going to be, I'm sure, off a little bit. So I'm actually just kind of curious what that is. See if it's the same distance up on this rail. Let's see, we'll measure. So it's 13 7/8. Yeah, it's off by just a 16th. So believe it or not, it's actually up pretty good. So we'll measure maybe 7 inches up from that, and we'll cut these off. And what we'll do after we cut them, we'll probably touch them up a little bit of black paint just to keep it from the internal rusting as much as possible. We'll keep the protection on there. Okay, we're going to follow these down and touch them up a little bit of paint. Just a little protection. So we're going to get these first ones marked out for the carriage bolts. We'll make sure they're nice and square after we drill out. And we actually got protection for our wires running right along the edge of this, so we'll clear that for sure. One thing I did read, though, it says if you have multiple trailers, you want to keep the poles the same distance apart so you can interchange your equipment on different trailers. Makes sense. But also this read that it says that 36 center to center, but it says the farther apart it is, the more support you get. So maybe we'll go a little farther apart then. That's why it's always good to read your instructions, but it says right there, note, the farther apart they are, the better your equipment will be supported. Then why didn't you tell me 36 inches then? You should have said, you know, keep it within a max of like 48 or something like that. Just don't throw 36 at the beginning on me here, kids. Get drilled out 3/8 holes for these carriage bolts. They give you walking nylon washers and stuff, so we'll get these drilled out. We're just drilling through some wood, so we don't need a heavy duty drill. We're just running 12-volt Milwaukee stuff. Oh, bangy bangy. I want to kind of make this sure that it's somewhat square before I lay out for these. You see that wood wants to pull back. I'm going to make sure this is square though before we mark out for the U brackets. Yeah, I have square tubing on top of mine. Just not the angle iron, so looks like they give you no washers with this, but I'm going to actually put this in from the outside in because I don't want the hardware sticking out way past that. And what we'll probably do, like I said, is tighten this one kind of down before we drill the other one because I need to hold it in place so I can kind of drill through the wire mesh as well. We're just going to snug that up for now. We'll drill the other hole out. They do give you plenty of long hardware here, though, to make this work with different trailers, so that's a plus. That's why I wanted to stick it inside, because I don't want to hang it out. It's another place to end up ripping your pants or something. Now we're going to tighten up the ones underneath, and then we're going to repeat the process for the other one. We'll figure out where we're going to space it. But like I said, it says 36 inches, but it says the farther you go apart, the better it supports the equipment. What they should do in the instructions is say, farther apart you go, the better, but don't exceed 48 inches or whatever. That's what they should say, but whatever. I'm not the one that wrote it. I do really appreciate those. They give you hardware to mount this bracket inside of an enclosed trailer. I don't know if me cutting this down is going to affect that later, but you know, I don't know if I have to buy a new kit for an enclosed trailer, or I can reuse this stuff, but if you can reuse it later, somebody drop that in the comments. Let me know if you can actually, even after you cut this down, can you reuse it? You probably can. It's just hardware to mount to the wall. If you don't have to buy another equipment defender rack later, if you move to an enclosed trailer, it saves you, you know, a little bit of dough. I mean, every little bit helps when you own your own business, so I do like that. So we ended up not actually separating these much more than 36. I think I'm like about 40 inches because I want to keep my one tie down clear and I wanted to stay off the metal bracket. So yeah, the next is just set these, and they got set screws to tighten these up. Now one thing I may do, but what I may do though, is actually drill all the way through this later myself without hitting one of these welds, because these are just set screws. So really somebody can come up here and take these set screws out, lift off both brackets, take these home, cut the welds off, try to get, you know, with a grinder, really get your stick equipment off these racks, you know, if they had the time to do it. So I may drill a nut and bolt, maybe with an anti-theft, I don't know, hardware to go through this. They should actually give you like slotted holes that you can bolt through, just because I know you can loosen that, but to me, just having set screws, so you can come up here and just undo these two set screws and walk away with your stick equipment with both of the racks, the upper parts of the rack with them, and have time to maybe get it apart with a grinder. So I don't know, maybe I'll drill through this like I said, and maybe find some anti-theft hardware to go through and just have backup, so you can't just come up here and loosen those up. But can't say the odds of somebody not having an Allen key, but I mean, pretty much they're getting smart. They're carrying tools with them to take everything apart. And I did spend the extra money to get the combination lock. I figured, you know, we all have enough keys with us at all times. Why have another key with you when you could just have a combination lock? So I paid the extra $30 to have the combination lock on this and the backpack. Your engine support brackets. You got this longer tube. You got to loosen these Allen keys up. Hopefully they're metric too, because I brought all metric with me. I'm sure are. Slide this down. You'll see it in your instructions, but you got this funky contraption of pieces which supports from the back side of this last tower here to support your engines themselves. I don't have engines, I got batteries. It's supporting our electric motors and batteries. So I got this crazy contraption put together which supports your engines. Everything is pretty much loose. The instructions are okay, but basically you want that flat stock of that half round. If you guys can see that. Facing you, I had to change the bracket, so I don't know if they were made wrong or whatever, but if you look at the pictures, this teardrop in this thing, I guess if you want to call it, it's supposed to be facing that way because you got these indentations here that fit onto this rack, and you kind of put the hardware in there. So you want to leave everything loose because you got to slide it up and down. Yeah, so we got these engine support mounts loose right now. One thing, I mean, they're strong. I mean, it's a pretty strong bracket, but one thing I would do is this bar right here is, since, you know, it has adjustability to it, they should give you a long enough bar to kind of go down all the way to the deck of your trailer, and just make it longer that you can cut it off just like you do with these bars and have this come all the way down. I think that would be a better supporting option. I mean, these things are strong and it's only holding your motors, but why not have a third support arm basically all the way down? Just because, why not, right? I mean, the more support, the more feet you have touching the ground, I guess you could say, the better it is. But we got to leave this stuff loose right now. We got to mount these things onto our stick equipment. And you can see there's a hook right here. You either hook from behind or you push in, depending on what system you have. Your combi units, they want you to push in, I think, from the front. This way you can't like take it apart. So yeah, for your combi systems, they want you to kind of put it in like that, so it locks in place. This way you can't take it in and out. But with just the regular string, you're just going to be hooking in from behind. And that's it. And that's all we got to do. And then our other system locks in here and locks this thing in place, and then you can lock it all up. So one thing I do want to say before I come back again is, see this little part here where the screws are? That actually faces in, so you don't have access to those screws, and that's how it locks it in to this rack up here. So you want your screws of this pushed in, and for your string attachments you want the hook, so you kind of come in and hook it in, and for your combi unit you want the actual hook to go in, so you can't move it back and forth and get it loose if you disconnect the switch in the middle. So let's keep that in mind. So I got everything set up right now. It was a little tricky setting up this back bracket for your motor support, or like our, well, it's still a motor, it's just an electric motor. But it's kind of self-explanatory how things, there's grooves and everything, how everything goes together. You want to leave this, most of this stuff loose except for this top bracket. So once you get everything set up and your mount on the actual stick equipment, then you can adjust your motor mount. We have electric motors basically because we are running the Milwaukee cordless right now, but right now it's locked. So once you put your combination unit in, which we have the combo set in there now, what we got to do is open this up, turn this to the side, it's unlocked, pull this lever, and then I have my unit off in the back. Put it back, simple as that. And like I was saying before, with your combination units, you can see I got this piece shoved in this way you can't disconnect this, push this apart and get that out because it's, you know, it's jammed against this. Your string trimmer, it's sitting right there. It comes from the outside, and your combi units you want to push in so nobody can disconnect this and go away with, you know, half of your unit. So you can see how that's locked in there from the forward. So this gets pushed in, this gets pulled in, and then you just come over here, get it into place. And when you want to lock it, just do that, change your combination unit, and then nobody can spin this, and then you are locked in place and nice and secure. So what's nice about this package is that there's a bunch of extra parts laying on my trailer here. And I mentioned before, you know, will this fit inside of an enclosed trailer, or do you have to buy this rack again? Well, based on what I see here for extra parts, I'm not gonna have to buy this setup again if I move to an enclosed trailer down the line. So overall, I think it's a very, very sturdy. I mean, obviously you can get movement because your trailer moves, but it's a very rigid, secure system, and everything is locked in place now. I can't get it off. You know, everything is nice and tight and secure when you're driving down the road. You get very minimal movement, and your motor supported, whether you're gas or electric. So overall, it wasn't a bad install. It took me probably longer to film this for you guys than it did for the install. This is a good height for me. I'm 6'1", so keeping that bottom piece 8 inches above the top rail of my trailer puts me at a good level here, in my opinion. Overall, guys, I really like the system so far. Obviously, I haven't used it. We'll do a long-term review on this, see how it holds up after a few months. If I get anything moving, getting loose, if things starting to get a little, you know, I gotta go back and check all my set screws on everything. I'm sure it's probably a good thing to do, being it's on a trailer, but we'll just let you know long-term how everything holds up, how this motor mount holds up. But like I said, I wish this piece here would go all the way down to the trailer just to have a little bit extra support, even though this is nice and rigid, just to have that go down, and you can just cut it to size based on whatever trailer you have. So my next install will be for the backpack blower. Hopefully I can do this outside next time where I have a little bit better lighting for you guys. And then as I get money, probably next month or whatever, I'm going to get the hand tool set up over there, because I mean, for the price of that, it's not much more than the ones you see on Amazon, and it's a lot better quality than the ones you have on Amazon. So we'll get that last. I'll catch you guys soon with the backpack blower mount. And yeah, that's it, guys. I thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. As always, be safe out there, and I'll catch you in the job. See you soon.